Hi everyone, welcome to Kids Paint Night. We are going to be painting an outdoor scene. It's like you're looking through a window and there's a mug of hot cocoa right in the window. Okay, so this is what it's going to look like. So the first thing you want to do is take the cutout I gave you of a mug. If you don't want to draw it freehand, you can cut it out and trace it on the canvas. And you're also going to need to make a straight line across the bottom, about that far, so 3 inches or so. So you want to do those two things before we get started. And then what you're going to want to do is you want to take a bigger flat brush preferably. And I'm going to turn this on an angle a little bit. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to take your white and you're going to dip the end of your brush in your white, and then you're going to take a little bit of the blue. Now you kind of have to judge for yourself, but just look at the picture of the sample and about how dark you want it, okay? We don't want to go too dark, because if we go too dark, we won't see the tree so much. So stick with a little lighter. So if it's too dark when you first put it in there, then go back over it with some white and add some white to it. Try to be really careful when you go around where the mug is. That's the trickiest part. And you kind of want the blue streaks in there. So if when you're doing this, you don't end up with too many streaks, you can go back through and add the streaks after. Okay? So go ahead and do your whole background. Try not to, I put some of the white on the plate, but I don't want to take it right from the middle, because then I'm just going to get blue all over it. So that's why I'm taking it from the side. Like that. And I'm going to put a little bit of blue in it. So fill up the entire background and try not to go over where the mug is, because it doesn't matter so much where the brown is, but try not to, just to make it easier. But when you go around the mug handle, because the red is more see-through, the blue will show up through the handle if you get the blue underneath your red. That's right, you want to try to avoid it if you can. Of course, we all know it's hard to stay in the line sometimes. And try to keep all of your brush marks going up and down rather than all over the place or side to side. Okay, so do the whole sky. I'm going to turn this around for a moment to try to get another angle. I'm going to go around the mug first, side to side, and then I'm going to go back over it when I do the rest. So I'm just trying to get a base coat down so I don't have to be so careful there, and then just finish the rest up here. And then you can be not as careful around the mug because you already got it there. Okay. So see how you want the background, your sky, to be a little full of streaks. If it starts getting too blue, just go back with some white. You can kind of spread your blue out then. Okay. I'm gonna finish this side. Thought it was easier if I gave you the cutout of the mug instead of you having to try to draw it freehand, because it was not easy to draw freehand. I did on my first one. And that's when I decided you guys would prefer tracing it, make it a lot easier. Remember, try not to paint it too thick because you have to get it to dry before you go on. I'm not going to be as careful with my edges because I'm just trying to hurry for you guys. But you guys can be more careful. Okay, so once you're done with the background, don't forget to do the part inside the mug. So switch to a small brush with that. Put some white and a little dab of blue and just fill it in the best you can, up and down. You can kind of go around with it and then go back to get it up and down. It's not going to match your background sky exactly, but you won't even notice it later on, okay? Okay, so once you have your sky done, now you're going to want to do the brown, and I'm going to use the smaller brush for this one. You're going to want to use the brown on the bottom because it's supposed to look like the windowsill. So it's normally wood. So that's what we're trying to make it look like, is wood. So I'm going to take a little bit of brown paint, put it next to my white, and I'm going to take a little bit of my white, and I'm going to take it from this end so I don't get all my pile of white mixed with the brown. I get too much though. Okay, let me take a bunch more. And you want it to be not mixed in totally because you want it to be like streaky looking. So there's one of two ways of doing it. You could do it like I do and just kind of mix it loosely, or you could put it on your brush separate like I did for the blue, for the sky, okay? So now you just want to paint the bottom, the brown and white. It's the trickiest, of course, around the mug again. So I'm going to go around the mug like this, but then when I go back to finish the background, I'm going to go side to side. So for the sky, we went up and down. For the wood on the bottom, we're going to go side to side with the brush strokes. You can take a small brush and outline it first to make it easier, or you can just do like I'm doing and following it along. And then when you go back, see if you go back across, you can go side to side again and get rid of that. Just go close to the mug to get rid of it. Okay, let me hold this down because it keeps moving on me. Remember, you want it streaky, so if you don't have enough streaks in there of white and brown, you could always go back and add them afterward. Canvas is warped a little and it keeps going up and down, making noise. Okay, so see how the bottom has some streaks in it, but if you don't have enough streaks, you could go through and add, oops, got too much brown now. You can go back and you can add a little brown in it like this. You can add a little white if you need more white in it, like that. It's up to you. I just want it a little streaky though is all. Because you just want it to kind of look like it's supposed to be wood. And wood has a lot of different looks to it. A lot of different kinds of wood out there. Okay, so when you are done with that, we need our top part dry. We're going to do our tree. Now, wait for yours to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and start mine. But you guys can take your time and wait for it to dry. Okay, it works best if you have a flat brush, but you can do your tree differently. You could do your tree like we used to do it if you don't have a flat brush, because what I'm going to do is I've got it nice and flat at the end, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the edge with just a tiny bit of paint, and I'm just going to dab it like this to make the tree. See, I'm going to fill it out, and that's how I did my other tree, is to make the branches to fill it out are just the brush dabbed like this to make the branches. If you don't have a flat brush and don't have the right kind that it'll work with, what you can do is you can take a rounded brush and you could just do like we did before with trees. You could take it and you can do this like with the trees instead. To make the branches, you just start at the top and then work your way down and fill it in the middle like we did the trees and some of the other stuff. So it's up to you how you want to do your trees. What works best is a flat, a fan brush, which I have one, but I didn't want to show you guys with the fan brush because it's not one of those brushes everybody has, and I didn't want you to need it and not have one. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take a little bit of the green on the very edge, and I'm going to make my top of my tree. We want the top center branch to show a little bit because we don't want it to be perfectly like half the tree only. We want it to be like more than that. So just find a starting spot up at the top like this and make the top of your tree like that. You just start having a starting point. And then what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to use this brush, but I'm going to take a little bit of the brown and line it up down here. Okay, just so I know where to aim for is the bottom. You know what I forgot to do? Actually, we're going to do this one little thing first. I am going to have you put snow on the bottom. So take some white and along the bottom here, make some wavy hills and fill them in with the snow. Make sure all your paint is dry enough to do this part. My brown isn't very dry yet, so I'm trying not to touch it. But just make some wavy hills of snow on both sides of your mug. Brushes keep dripping. Okay. And even when you put your mug on, you didn't have to have it exactly centered. You could just move it where you wanted. If you wanted a little bit to the left or a little bit to the right. You don't have to have everything centered. Okay, so then just do your snow on the other side. Like I said, make sure yours is dry so you are not smearing your blue around. My blue is smearing around a little bit. Okay, so just like that, put your little snow in. All right, now I'm going to go back and finish the tree. Start the tree. Okay, so we have the top and we have the bottom, so we know where we're going to start at and where we're going to end at. So now just take straight green. Make sure if you're using it this way with the flat brush, make sure your edge is nice and flat. In order to do that, just kind of rub it onto your plate like that and it'll flatten it out real skinny. So now you want to start, you want to leave a little bit of that, and you then want to just tap it to make the branches below it. See how you're just tapping it and filling it in. You don't want to fill it in so much that you see nothing but green, because you want to be able to see a little bit of the blue through it. You want to be able to see all the little lines. You can do it a little bit up once in a while, a little bit more down. But just kind of dab it along and see when you first dip it back into the green how much darker it is. And it's nice to have the varied colors, like sometimes it's darker, sometimes it's lighter. I'm going to go back and dab it there because that top branch stuck up a little bit too much. It was too dark. So just as you're going along, just gradually get it out a little bit further. You want it a little wider as you're going down the tree. And you can always go back and fill in a little spaces that you missed. But you want it a little bit so there's spaces on the end, because you don't want to fill it in so much that you can't see the branches. Like if I were to fill it in all the way, see how when you can see all the branches sticking out, but if I were to just fill it in all the way, you wouldn't see the branches. And you want to be able to see the branches. And that's what a fan brush does too. Is it's shaped like a fan and it does these flat edges like that. It's good for stuff like trees. And you also don't want to fill it in completely, because we're going to go through and we're going to put some snow on it as well. So we're going to go back with the white. And trees are not perfectly shaped like that either on the sides. Sometimes you have a branch that sticks out further. If it's a bush out in the wild, not belonging to somebody, nobody's over there trimming it, so it's not going to have a perfect shape to it. Just kind of keep dabbing. Try not to go past the mug handle just because it'll be more difficult. So try to make your tree not quite as wide as where your handle is for your mug. Now when you get down to the bottom, we did this just to get a kind of a gauge on where the middle was. So when you get down there, my brown is a little wet, but that's okay. Try to just even it out a little bit. I have a lot of white showing there. It looks almost like the snow is already in there. So just kind of do it like that. I'm going to take the rounded brush then And I'm gonna kind of fix this. I just did the wrong color. Okay, I'm gonna do it in brown. Not like I just did in green. So just do it in brown and make a little base for your tree trunk. Just like that. And I'm going to do it with this one too. While I have it out, I'm going to make this one. The snow is very wet right there. So it's not working quite as planned. But yours will be fine because I'm sure yours are dry. Okay. I also do that one while I had it out. Okay. So once you're done with that one, let it dry a little bit and go on to the second tree. I'm going to make this one a little shorter. It's up to you how tall you wanted yours. And I'm actually going to turn it so I could reach it better on this side. Okay. So go ahead and do your second tree. I warped. Things driving me nuts. And no, I can't do it this way. I'm not getting it right. Sometimes too, when you're doing your green, you could turn the brush around because you don't realize it, but sometimes one direction of the brush might have the same look to it the whole entire time, and then it'll be exactly the same as you're making the tree. So sometimes you could turn your brush around and it might get a little bit different of a look. So it's exactly not exactly the same all the way down. This is driving me nuts. Okay. So just keep dabbing it on, or if you're doing it the other way, it doesn't matter, whichever way you want to do. There's no right or wrong. Okay, I think I can do it this way now. Sorry, I'm just holding it up so it stops making all that noise from being warped. My wood frame in the back must be a little bit off. So it's not laying flat. Okay, I'm trying to hurry. You guys take your time. I just hate to drag out these videos for too long for you guys. Okay. And they don't have to look exactly the same, both of the trees. All the trees out there don't look exactly the same. So this one looks more full. Might be a different variety of evergreen. Okay, so when you're done with the green, you want to go back and do the same technique with the white. So I'm just going to take a little white on the end of my brush, and I'm just going to make some dabs here and there to be the snow. Try to not do it as flat. Like if you do like the edges a little bit more so it doesn't look as perfect. And then just dab a little white here and there to be the snow that's sitting on the tree. Wait for yours to dry though. Always wait for your parts to dry before you go on to next steps, because you have the time to do it. And you could always pause the video and go back to it. Okay, You also want to take a tiny bit of white and put it on the tree trunk too, just so it looks like the light's hitting it. Now I'm going to go and I'm going to do the other one. As I said, it's up to you how much snow is on your tree. But you don't want to cover it up all the way. You want the green showing. Remember, make sure your tree is dry. Same thing, put a little white spot on the trunk. Make sure looks like the light's hitting it. Okay, when you're done with that part, we're going to do the mug. So I'm going to take my red. And I'm going to take my rounded brush. I'm going to switch paper towels. That one's way too wet. Okay, and I'm going to paint the entire mug red, except try to leave out the oval where the hot chocolate is going to be. When you do the handle, try to follow it along with your brush stroke so you're following the shape of it. And your green should be all dry while you're, got plenty of time to finish drying, and your snow while you're doing the mug. Before we go on to the steps that are in front of that. But right now your blue should definitely be all dry. My paint is a little old and very thick. So right now, you guys have a nice fresh paint, and I have one that's kind of drying out. So your paint is probably going to be easier to go on than mine. Try to stick in your border there so you don't. I just dipped my hand into a green tree someplace. Okay, I'm gonna put this sideways. I can do the edge better. So go ahead. And paint in your mug. If you get the red up at the top where the brown cocoa is going to be, it doesn't matter. You're going to go over it with the brown anyway. My red is not flowing well at all though. So it's kind of not getting where I really want it. Like I really wanted it up a little bit higher there, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So yours is probably going to be neater than mine. Okay, the bottom now. We're going to pretend like mine's nice and neat. Okay. This video might go into two parts because my phone seems to shut off after so many minutes and continue recording it on a second one. So today's is kind of a little longer. It just might do that. So just to warn you, there might be 2 videos. Wasn't my plan, but that's my phone deciding it for itself. Okay, so go back. I took a bigger brush now, so I could be a little quicker, but you guys take your time. I am kind of filling part of it out around. Okay, don't worry about the rest then. Okay, so once you're done with the red part of the mug, oops, we're gonna need a little bit of red then. What you're gonna wanna do is take your brown. Now you can actually use the brown that we made for the wood base because you actually want a little bit of white mixed in it anyway. So take the brown that we mixed for our base that has the brown and the white together. And wait for yours to dry, but you're going to want to make an oval. Yours will look better because you're going to wait for yours to dry. You're going to want to make an oval on the top, which is where your hot cocoa is. So you gotta have to make it rounded. Like that. Okay. A little bit more to this side. And if you don't have enough white in it, you can add a little bit like that. Leave a big spot there because it's going to look like the marshmallows are melting. So it's okay if you have a big spot of white. All right. So now that's drying a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little bit of a brown and red mixed together. So I need just a little bit of it. So I'm going to take a little bit of my red. I said my red is really dried out and clumpy right now. And take a little bit of the brown. Mix it together. I don't have enough red in mine. All right, let me add more red. I'm gonna throw this red out when I'm done then. Okay, so mix some brown and red together. So you want it to look like a reddish brown. And what you want to do is you want to make some outlining. So use a skinnier brush. This one's probably too wide. But see, I'm going to put a little bit on my handle. So you want it to look like it's outlined a little bit. So you can see your handle better. Okay, come around. Just like that. See, now your handle sticks out better. And then you also want to maybe take this, and I think I forgot to put this part on your instructions, but right underneath the mug you want it to look like it's got a shadow. You want to probably add more brown. You just do it with straight brown. And you want it to look like the shadow of the mug because it's shining from outside, so the other side of it it would have a shadow to it. There. So see how it looks like it's shadowing? It's being shadowed like that. Okay. Oops, I shouldn't have washed that off yet. You also need to take some brown paint, and you want your window ledge to show up better. So take brown paint and make a straight line, as straight as you can, because you want it to look like the window frame. That's the bottom of the window frame from your window. Just like that. Okay. Now, the tricky thing is making the window pane. You want to take a ruler. When your painting is dry, take a ruler and draw the window panes. This part and this part. I'm just going to do it freehand just to show you how you're going to do it. But when this is all dry, put a ruler down and make 2 straight lines, one across this way, and you want it to be in front of the tree. We're going to pretend like mine is nice and straight, like I drew a line with the ruler, even though I didn't. And then, oops, I keep using the wrong colors. You also want to do it going the other way, but you don't want it to be in the center. I'm going to do mine here. And the same thing. Draw the line and then cover it in brown paint. We're going to pretend like mine is a nice straight line, even though it isn't. Okay, so here's how my first one looked. That one I did draw the line with the ruler, okay? But this one I did not. So just do it with the ruler and then put it in there. All right, now you're going to want to you're going to go back to the white, because you're going to let your hot chocolate dry, and hopefully yours is dry, and you're going to make some marshmallows. So just make however many marshmallows you want. Like I said, yours will be dry, so yours will come out better. And just paint some white little marshmallows in there. You can do however many marshmallows you want. That's why there's a little bit of the white part, because it makes it look like your marshmallows started melting. So just draw some marshmallows. They're just little like rectangular rounded things. Okay? And then when you're done with your marshmallows, you want to take, like I said, wait till all of yours is dry to do this. You want to make some steam coming up from your cup. So just make some little lines. We're not going to pay attention that I'm dragging the brown. And you're just going to make some little steam marks of just plain white. And this one too is going to look like it's coming up from here. Okay? Just don't do it while your brown is still wet and you have brown on it. Now you're also going to take a little bit of white and you're going to go around. I didn't do that in the right spot.